find most of them to be an imbecile. But when the cameras are on, man, oh man, they cannot get enough of everything he says.
We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. I will do away with red traffic lights, only green from now on. Keep it moving. America's momentum is back. Our spirit is back, and measles are back. We love our measles, don't we? Little spots. Pink, pink, pink. So cool. So itchy. I've had them on my balls. Big. I also signed an executive order to ban women from having their periods. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. Melania says it's that time of the month, all month. She's fantastic. So much menstruation. Melania.
Donald Trump, a man whose name alone sparks endless debates, headlines, tweets, and, let's be honest, plenty of late-night comedy gold. We've seen him conquer reality TV, host wrestling matches in the Oval Office, figuratively speaking, and turn politics into an extended episode of The Apprentice. But if there's one thing we know for sure, it's this. When the cameras are rolling, he's never one to shy away from proving why satire exists. And most recently, the comedic duo of Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel decided to answer the call.
This whole thing has brought back my 8-year-old self. It's been a gift from God. It's like literally like brought me back to 8 years old where I used to sit in my room. Trump is toast.
Yes, folks, Carrey, known for his elastic face and sharp impersonations, and Kimmel, the undisputed late-night king of deadpan sarcasm, have just tag-teamed one of the most brutal takedowns of Trump and Melania in recent memory. And when we say brutal, we mean the kind of roasting that would make even Trump's signature spray tan sweat buckets. Let's rewind for a second. Where were you when this happened? Scrolling Twitter? Debating the meaning of life at a drive-thru at 1 a.m.? Wherever you were, Jim Carrey was dialing it up to 100 with one of his signature performances. And yes, he became Trump for the moment. Imagine Trump's hand gestures, the lip pursing, the constant air of, why won't everyone stop questioning my genius? And Carrey doesn't just impersonate, he embodies.
Donald Trump has pushed us to the point where we can't even agree on the weather. What a stupid time to be alive. But has anyone thought about unplugging America and plugging it back in again? Because
We are parentless. You know? We are babysat by the television. We're taught how to think by the television. That's the dangerous thing about what's going on right now. There are generations growing up right now who are learning to lie. That lying is okay. That this
kids say fake news.
That you're supposed to hate half the country. You know? And if anything, we've got to get back to a place where we realize that a vote is not who you are. You know, and because you voted Republican, you're not stupid, you're not different, you're not worthless. You know, I could break bread with anybody who voted for Trump. We could find some common ground to love each other.
Every little absurdity gets magnified into caricature, from Trump's obsession with Diet Coke to that awkwardly forward-leaning golf stance that has become meme fodder. Oh, and don't forget Jimmy Kimmel. If sarcasm were a superpower, Kimmel would be the guy flying around in tights, saving us from our collective political headaches. He didn't hold back on Trump's post-presidential antics either. Selling gold-plated sneakers while ranting about voter fraud.
the White House put out a memo today warning federal agencies to prepare for mass layoffs. But don't worry, none of this will affect the butler who brings Trump his Diet Cokes 9 times a day. You know, they sent an email to millions of government employees instructing them to share 5 things they accomplished last week. Trump said they would be fired if they didn't, then said they wouldn't be fired. Then he said they would be semi-fired. Now he's saying they'll be wood-fired with caramelized onion.
Let's be real. Trump's post-presidency sounds less like retirement and more like the setup for an infomercial. Buy one conspiracy theory and get a free set of golden cufflinks. But the real magic of this roasting session? The way Carrey and Kimmel zeroed in on the absurdity of it all, the contradictions, the hypocrisy, the laughable moments Trump himself provided without realizing it.
This administration is a rabid dog, and it's turning us upside down. And all, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's as obvious as the nose on your face, you know. But People have made these elections and politics in general who they are, and it's not who you are. You can make a bad decision about a candidate. It's not who you are. It doesn't mean...
Belgium is a city. Melania's blood-red Christmas trees. The time he tried to extort Diet Coke from the butler by threatening to wood-fire him. These moments aren't fiction. They're history now. And for comedians, history makes excellent material. It's as if Trump's life is a never-ending sitcom, except he thinks he's playing the hero when he's undeniably the punchline. And speaking of punchlines, let's talk about Melania for a moment. Oh, Melania, the woman who might just hold the world record for dodging hand-holding attempts in public. You know what they say, never underestimate the power of body language. From the robotically delivered speech to the unmistakable, "Can this be over already?" stare she perfected at every public appearance. Melania went through her First Lady tenure with the demeanor of someone trapped in a decade-long escape room she never signed up for. Jimmy Kimmel didn't miss a beat when it came to pointing out the irony of it all. Melania launching anti-bullying campaigns while married to, well, public enemy number one when it comes to kindness on the internet. Her Be Best campaign, it sounded good on paper, sure.
Okay. Tony Soprano was in Charleston, South Carolina last night, where he took some time to boast about his golf game and complain about chubby photos.
Did you see the picture of me, the horrible picture with the stomach out to here? That was, so what I do is I'm putting up today a picture of me actually, what I actually look like hitting a ball, smashing the can hit it 9 times.
Right. Well, you know, and in that case, you got my vote if you can hit a ball.
But somewhere between Trump's tweet storms and the press conferences, the contradiction became impossible to ignore. And let's not forget the Christmas trees. The infamous blood-red decorations that turned the White House into the set of a Tim Burton film. Every late-night host had a field day with those, but Kimmel's quip was priceless. Is Melania decorating for Christmas, or is she auditioning for a role as the next Bond villain? The imagery alone was enough to make you double-check whether those were holiday decorations or props from an abandoned horror movie set. But here's where Carrey truly stole the show. In typical Carrey fashion, he didn't just stick to impersonations. He went full meta, using his satire to remind us why Trump was the perfect subject for late-night comedy.
With Modern Times, he criticized capitalism without a conscience. And that's what we have now. We have capitalism without a conscience. He showed the common man being fed through gears of the brutal, dehumanizing industrial age. He took on the American right wing of his day, its worst evils: hatred of immigrants, contempt for the truth, greed, and the abuse of power. We are fighting those same evils today.
From his inability to take responsibility to his obsession with ratings, Carrey distilled all of Trump's absurdity into moments that were laugh-out-loud funny, but cut deep. For instance, imagine Carrey mimicking Trump drafting a 3 a.m. tirade on Truth Social. Bad review from Hollywood elites about Meat's Loaf. Truth Social better than Twitter. Sad losers. I am not mad, you're mad. It's over the top, but let's be honest. Entirely plausible. That's what makes the humor hit so hard. Carrey doesn't even have to stretch the truth. Trump's reality often feels more absurd than fiction anyway. Let's turn back to Kimmel. Where Carrey relied on exaggerated impressions, Kimmel went for the jugular with precision jabs. He's the guy who cuts through the nonsense with one-liners so sharp they leave you gasping. Whether he's pointing out how Trump loses his mind over bad headlines or dissecting Melania's ironically detached demeanor, Kimmel strikes the perfect balance of wit and commentary. His monologues aren't just funny, they're revelatory. And here's the kicker. Nothing Trump or Melania could say or do would change the impact of this roast. Sure, Trump might rage post some typos, threaten lawsuits nobody takes seriously, or call Kimmel low ratings Jimmy. But that's the beauty of it. His responses only reinforce the joke. He doesn't realize how much comedic ammunition he provides, and that's what makes him a walking punchline. As for Melania, the narrative around her is less about roasting and more about questioning. Did anyone really know her as a first lady? As Kimmel pointed out with his signature smirk, her eternal disinterest turned her into a mystery wrapped in expensive gowns. She was less a political figure and more of a reluctant co-star in Trump's chaotic 4-year reality series. A human ghostwriter for awkward photo ops. But the true irony in all of this isn't the jokes, it's Trump's reaction. The man who spent years branding himself as tough and untouchable melts the moment he's even slightly criticized. He'll dismiss the roasting on True Social, pretending to shrug it off, all while secretly drafting another incoherent rant. Jim Carrey and Jimmy Kimmel know this. That's why their punches land so hard. It's not just a roast, it's a reminder that if you can't handle satire, you probably shouldn't try to control the narrative. Ultimately, the comedic takedown wasn't just funny, it was cathartic. In a world so dominated by absurd headlines and divisiveness, moments like these remind us of the power of humor. Comedy can slice through nonsense, expose hypocrisy, and hold up an unfiltered mirror to the chaotic state of affairs. And let's face it, when the subject is Trump, the material practically writes itself.